All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay. So, the iPhones, they are amongst us. There are plenty of people that are still excited about the iPhone SE, but I'm ready for the new iPhone, the next generation of iPhone, the one that will replace my iPhone 11. And not that I'm getting rid of my iPhone 11, but this iPhone 11, it gets some use, but not as much as I would like to, because I'm really just not an iPhone person overall. But strangely enough, I like iPads. I like Mac computers. I like AirPods. But the iPhone as a daily driver is extremely difficult to me. Obviously, I'm using it, but it's just a little difficult. And so I want to talk about what could possibly be, for Apple in the coming months. I believe Samsung announced something about their Note 20 event, possibly in August. And I'm wondering what Apple is going to do for their next iPhone. I mean, there's a lot of leaks out there that are kind of hinting around that they're going to actually give us what we want. And when I say we, there's a select few of people out there who would like flat sides on the phone. A flat side on the phone, like these. I get to focus off of me. There we go. These rounded corners and rounded sides like this. I'm not a huge fan of that. It makes this phone, particularly the 11, feel much bigger than what it is, wider. But hoping that there's some flat sides reminiscent of the iPhone SE or the iPhone 5. I really love those. The iPhone 5S, that's the best hardware I think that Apple has put out. The iPhone SE, iPhone 5S, iPhone 5, that hardware, that design, I think they should run with that. But they brought out this iPhone SE second generation. And they did what they did. I'm not going to beat that horse up, but I'm not interested in that device for obviously a number of reasons. But if there's consumers out there that are interested in it, I'm sure they purchased it already. But the hype definitely died for that phone, like it does for every other phone. But I think people who have the iPhone 11 or the 11 Pro or the 11 Pro Max are extremely happy with their devices, and I'm wondering if people are actually going to upgrade, or if you call it an upgrade, or switch devices this year when the new iPhone comes out. And honestly, I don't think I'm going to get rid of this device or the Pro Max. You probably never see my Pro Max on here. It looks just like this, silver skin and everything. But I don't think that I'm going to get rid of this device. I think I'm probably going to keep it because I don't know how well I'll like the next version. I'm hoping that it's going to be better than this, meaning it's a little bit slimmer, a little bit more narrow. I hope they adapt the more 20:9 aspect ratio or the 21:9 aspect ratio. That would actually be great. If Apple brought out a 21:9 aspect ratio device, I could use it probably as a daily driver just because I know my social media will be fantastic on there. And that's an advantage, in my humble opinion, about iPhones. The social media on it, with the exception of the Studio app, if you're a YouTube content creator, it is freaking horrible. Google is continuously messing up this application. But nonetheless, it's always been pretty bad on Apple's devices, in my opinion, and in my use. But other than that, social media on iPhones is just kind of top notch. I don't know what the difference is and why I feel so much, different about it when using it on Android. But I just feel like on Android, the quality of everything is just different. And I'm an Android guy. Overall, I'm pro Android. But for social media, like the photos that I take from an iPhone and put them onto social media, they don't seem as they don't seem compressed, or the quality just looks really, really good. And that's just what it is. But the next iPhone that I get will, in fact, be the next generation iPhone. I hope that if you guys are looking for an iPhone, I always tell you guys to shoot for the more affordable iPhone if there is one. Now, right now, that's probably going to be the iPhone SE. So I'm going to tell you, don't buy that phone, especially if you're just buying it just because you think the price is low and it has the same processor as this device. Don't do it. I can't tell you what to do, but you won't see me ever recommending that phone to a person who wants an iPhone. I would definitely recommend you just get a previous generation iPhone or get the iPhone 11. Or the 10R. Get one of those iPhones. But nonetheless, I think that the next generation of the iPhone It's probably going to look like this, with the cutout. It's supposed to have a smaller cutout at the top, but who knows? We don't know how that's going to turn out. We don't know what Apple's going to do. Most people got used to that. Just one more thing. Everybody gets so used to that. And one more thing is for sure is that they're supposed to be upping the memory options on the phones, making a baseline of 128. That would be fantastic. Took them long enough, but it would be crazy if Apple adapted an SD card. That would be so nice. Or definitely switch to Type-C for their iPhones. And the silly part is they're still selling these iPhone 11s with these small charging bricks. And they sold the iPhone SE second generation with the same charging brick. We're just using old parts, I say. But I really I'm hopeful that Apple just stops cheating their customers, man. Give us a Type-C port. Your iPad has it. Your laptops have it. So what's the big deal? Just do it already. Start putting a fast charger in the box. Stop being so greedy. That's just greed to me right there. You're going to charge $700 for a phone and you don't even give a fast charger. You don't bring it up to speed. Type-C on the next iPhone, it has to come. They have to do it, man. If they don't do it, I think a lot of people who are paying attention are going to be really frustrated, because remember, people thought that the new iPhones, these iPhone 11s, were going to have Type-C, and they were sadly mistaken. There's no Type-C. So I think that when Apple implements this next version of an iPhone, I really hope that they just put Type-C on it, man. Heck, even bring back a headphone jack if you want to. Do something to shake the industry up, because, right now, no one's really that impressed with phones. I think you see people switching phones a lot. You see I've seen people buy a phone and say, I'm switching completely. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, I'm not really impressed with this, and I'm switching to something else. A week later, I'll switch to something else. I'm like, whoa. So, and that's more obviously along the lines of the techies out there, but there are some consumers that probably do that. We just don't hear from them because they don't have YouTube channels or they're not on social media that much. So I think Apple, with this next iPhone, they need to do something different. I always encourage companies to take risks, because there are so many people out there that defend these companies. I'm shocked that so many of you guys actually defend these companies for doing the same thing. And I think brand loyalty is a huge mistake on the part of any consumer. You should always be you should always be searching for the best financial situation you're in. Meaning, if you can get something at a really good price and it's still up to your standards, go for it. But ultimately, coming back to reality, I don't think Apple's going to do a Type-C cable. If they do, I'll be so happy. I don't think they're going to go with the flat sides. If they do, I'll be so happy. I don't think they're going to deviate from this design at all by giving it a smaller cutout at the top. If they do, I'll be so happy. I need to see these things to believe it coming from Apple, because they don't take any risks. Like people say, Google is for software, not hardware. I think all companies should be for hardware, because the hardware is what you're holding when you're using a device. You don't go shopping for a phone and you're walking around saying, I love the way those icons are on that phone. No one does that. You're looking at the phone saying, ooh, I like how this phone looks. It feels good in the hand, blah, blah, blah. So if in fact Apple wants to shake up the industry, a company that they keep ignoring because that company doesn't do good marketing, well, I can't say they don't do good marketing. People are just so one-sided that they feel like companies are pricing their phones too high, or they just don't even want to give them a second look. And then also some of these companies have shot themselves in the foot. Like Sony has shot themselves in the foot, so much. It's incredible. So the Xperia Mark 1 2, yeah, I seen the news about the pre-order, but I don't really care for that, because I don't want to engage yet, because people are just going to say, oh, it's not worth it, without even having it. And it's amazing, but you'll buy these phones like this. They cost $1,500. These S10s, they cost $1,500. And on paper, they offer so much less. But the reason I say Sony shot themselves in the foot is because they had trash cameras on their last device. This doesn't make any sense. You're Sony, like this Sony that I'm shooting on. Yes, I have the Sigma 16 millimeter lens on here, but still, the camera itself, even when I put the stock lens on here, it's actually really good for vlogs. But Sony needs to. I mean, Apple needs to do something like Sony. Take the risk. And you know what? The crazy part is, if Apple brings out a 21:9 aspect ratio device, let's just keep it all the way 100 here. Their marketing is way better than anyone out there that I can think of. I'm just being honest, and I don't make videos to trash any OEM, but I'm just calling it like I see it. So their marketing is fantastic. Apple's marketing, they get people to buy whatever. Case in point, the iPhone SE second generation. That horse has one leg left, or it's running on nubs, and people will still defend this phone for some reason. Oh, I love the iPhone SE second generation. It is so strange to hear these people saying this when it's nothing but old hardware. It's so strange. You're not getting this fantastic. Okay, anyway, if Apple were to make a 21:9 aspect ratio iPhone, they would shift the market. Like if Apple were to do a 21:9, just think about this now. If Apple does what Sony has right now, Sony has been the only OEM that's putting 4K screens on phones, and they can't even sell those phones. Not even at the lower cost for some reason. People are just not buying. And I shouldn't say blame, I'm going to place the focus back on Sony. How could you have these jewels, and they technically don't cost a lot when you compare them to the industry? How could you blame... Sony needs to get it together, because if not, a company like Apple or Samsung or LG or just Motorola, someone's going to swoop in and bring this killer 4K display on a 21:9 aspect ratio device, or 22:9 or 20:9. They're going to swoop in and do it, and then steal the thunder, and Sony will never get it back. There are Sony fans out there. I am one of them. But if Apple brings out a 21:9 aspect ratio, it doesn't even have to have a 4K display. If they just bring out a 21:9 aspect ratio iPhone, people are going to say they shook up the industry. That's just how it works. So in the next iPhone, let me tell you what I would like to see. Now, I know this is a wish list, but anything's possible. Difficult, but not impossible. For those that are in the know, you know what I mean. So 21:9 aspect ratio iPhone, which means it's going to be a taller, and it's going to have, more icons up and down. It's going to be narrower, easier to hold. Box it off like the design, just a hair, not too boxy, but box it off closer to the design of the iPhone 5S, or the first generation iPhone SE. Put it like that. This cut out the top, just a little bit smaller. That's it. Give me Type-C, and give me the options for the memory options starting at 128. And then don't price it for $2,000. Don't even price it for $1,500. Don't even price it for $1,200. Keep it at $1,000 or less. Make several versions of that. Make 2 versions of it. That's it. 21:9 aspect ratio, a closer design between this and the iPhone 5's design, that body, and a memory option of 128. And I know you'll put the processor in there. I know you'll have some crazy camera set up on the back, but that's all I would like to see from Apple, because it'll be something different. And to me, it means you're listening to your customers and you took some kind of risks. Other than that, that's my list. What's your list? What would you like to see Apple do to actually really, because honestly, they have this great marketing. How could they make the iPhone 12 or 13 or 14 or whatever, somewhere in the next 2 years? I would love to see something like this from Apple. And it's totally possible. There are going to be people say, Jay, they'll never do that. You don't know. You don't know what Apple will do, because they definitely have the manpower, the marketing, the people, and the technology to do it. They don't want to. They're too comfortable. They're too afraid to take serious risk. And that's not really a serious risk, but it's a serious risk for Apple. You know what I mean? Because right now, the Sony Xperia Sony Xperia 2 Mark, you get it. The Xperia Mark 2, whatever, the latest one, that is actually a beautiful looking device. And the only thing that's going to make that device fail for me, I don't know about you, but the only thing that's going to make that device fail is the cameras. Because I plan on getting it. No, I'm not pre-ordering, and this has nothing to do with whether I think it's worth it or not. I just kind of don't like pre-orders, and that pre-order is Sony's so lazy with their sales, man. They announced this phone 2 to 3 months ago, probably. I don't even remember, and they're just not coming around to some kind of pre-order, and it's through B&H. Like, I'm not even trying to hear all that. I want you to sell your phones. Got love for B&H. Trust me, I bought my Sony camera from B&H. I bought my lenses. I bought so much stuff. My complete camera setup, my Canon setup, all B&H. So I got love for B&H. But I want Sony to sell their phones. And if they're gonna have to do it through a third party, B&H is a great company to do so. I just prefer not to do a pre-order right now. Not really feeling it. I'm gonna wait it a little bit longer because I waited 6 months to get the other Sony. But onto this Apple thing. The iPhone 12 or whatever is leaking all over the place. What are we gonna get from Apple? Are they really gonna do something different? Are they going to do another small increment and try to string us along even more? It's your man Jay. Hope you guys enjoyed. Just a quick update on Apple's iPhones. These phones right here could be so much better than what they really are. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.